I go. There may not be a team there that the listeners of this program really care about. Anyway, if you want to comment on that, 803-470-2905. I'm in some SEC Facebook group on I can't remember. It's a bunch of I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups. I get invited into a lot of them. And a lot of the times it's because um sort of like Jackpot when Jackpot slaps people around. I kind of do that on Facebook a little bit. Someone actually put out there today with that the story that I just gave you about how Clemson wants out of the ACC, that there's no way that Clemson could compete on the ACC on excuse me on the SEC schedule, which is humorous to say the least. So I went and looked it up. In the CFP era, Clemson's 13-4 against the conference. If that's not competing, I don't know what is. Now, you could definitely make an argument that Florida State would have issues competing right now simply based on where they've been recruiting, where they went from recruiting in the top 5 every season to now they're at like 15, getting out recruited by not by North Carolina and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah. Papa B says, "Man, Clemson's schedule is way too easy." Okay. I mean, I'm just saying in the CFP era, they're 13-4 against the SEC. If that's not competing, I don't know what is. They schedule SEC teams and they beat them. They've won on the road at Auburn. They've won on the road at Texas A&M. They beat Auburn at home. They beat Texas A&M at home. And South Carolina has been a joke. They're going for 8 in a row this season. So I'm not sure what you want. They've got more wins over Alabama in the past 10 years than LSU does. What do you want from me? Seriously, if you're a Clemson fan, that's the one thing you got to say. What else do you want? They've got more wins over Alabama in the past 10 years than LSU does. I stand behind that. I also stand behind this too. If Clemson jumped to the SEC today, they would be one of the top 4 teams in the conference. If they're in the East, it's them and Georgia competing for to go to Atlanta right now. If they're in the West, they're competing with Alabama and LSU. I know people are looking at Texas A&M. I still think they're a little bit behind, but in the end, it would be Alabama and Clemson and LSU right there in the mix over in the West. But finishing third in the West then would be like Kentucky finishing second in the East last season. But top 4 is not that far fetched. It's really not. And I know some people will get upset and say things like, well, Clemson did this, and I get that. And I'm not saying Clemson's world beaters either. But to say that an SEC schedule is going to wear them out is silly. Absolutely silly. 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. I just got a text from Carolina Jackpot. And it says, this is from Mark Durbin, who replied to his Kentucky preview. I'm just going to read it right now. I don't even know what it says. But if Carolina Jackpot sends it to me in the middle of the show, it's bound to be pretty entertaining. Mark Durbin says, "Man, your predictions were pretty good last year, but wow, you really took this one off. Just on the Kentucky O-line alone, you really missed it big. Like this, last year's midseason All-American Cox moves from right guard to center. Strongest guy on the team. Strongest guy on the team." Now, he put that in caps because I think he wanted to make sure that he yelled that, like, strongest guy on the team. Right guard is taken over by Auburn early transfer Manning at 344 pounds, and yes, he'll be playing on Sundays. Left guard is super senior and future NFL free agent Horsey. I have no clue what that is. 2 tackles are 4 stars that have been understudies of an All-American, just a regular pro, LOL. Right tackle Flax has seen the SEC action and is huge. will be a mover in the outside zone run game. Left tackle is a 4-star and highly thought of Buford. Big Buford. How do you get the name Big Buford? And the 5-star early enrollee monster Goodwin will back up these tackles, but likely won't start this season. Huge dude, strong dude, tall dude that can move. LOL, physical. So that is just the O-line that you missed. Upper echelon O-line for Kentucky again. And yet not a single YouTuber or rag knows it. Funny as hell, like it's top secret information or something. Running back, look up Ramon Jefferson. We may just be better in 2022 in the run game. And I didn't mention that we'll be playing a fullback in 2022 like the 49ers do. He's 264 pounds, more physical. The 7 and 5 stuff is funny. Definitely not a jackpot. LMAO. Well, let me break that down for just a second. If you had such a great offensive line last season, and some of these guys could have played last season, why is it that with that great offensive line, you couldn't beat Tennessee? Remember, Tennessee has the gimmick offense that we talk about on this program. Tennessee beat you. Why is it with that massive offensive line you're talking about where everybody's physical and everybody's knocking each other around? Why is it that you had problems with the snake? Yeah, UT Chattanooga. You had issues with them. The Mocs almost beat you at your own place. Mizzou almost beat you at your own place. You had issues with them. And Mizzou was a shit show. And you're talking about, oh, well, we've got this great line. Look, winning in the line of scrimmage is great. I don't know how long Rodriguez is going to be out and be suspended. I have no clue. Let's say he comes back in week 3. That's fine. All right. But the reality is, who's Will Levis going to throw the ball to? Anybody want to help me with that? Anybody want to help me with that? I'll wait. Anyway, 803-470-2905. Tom Brady says, I just got my tickets for week 1, Georgia State. Definitely a lot of excitement in the fan base right now. And yeah, Shane Beamer said some stuff to who was it? To Brad Crawford. I thought it was interesting. I'll read you this quote from because he just left the stage up there pretty much for SEC Media Days. He says, for us, it's continuing to build on what we did last season. No one's satisfied with 7 wins. I didn't come here to South Carolina to be 7-6 every year. We have higher expectations than that. That is what would you expect him to say? Awesome. I mean, he came in, and to be honest, he was captain positive last year when everybody had South Carolina at 3.5 wins. He doubled that in his first season. I'm not saying that he's the absolute greatest coach ever. I'm saying he's the right fit and the right mold for South Carolina because he actually wants to be there. He's not like Mike Bobo leaving in the middle of the night to go take a job at Auburn. Tracy Rocker taking a job in the middle of the night. I'm going to have dinner with the coaches. We're supposed to have a meeting the next morning, and I'm just gone. Leaving. Bye-bye. There's 14 offensive coordinator jobs in the SEC. I'm going to leave one of them right now and just go. And I'm going to go to Auburn. That's where I'm going. What a mess. What an absolute mess on that front. Shane Beamer took all of that into the mix, went out and found some folks because he had to scramble to figure out who was going to take care of those spots when those guys left for Auburn, which, by the way, both of those guys aren't there anymore. Maybe they were just not very good quality folks. They're just cashing in everywhere. Loyalty meant nothing to them. Even though after they promised Beamer they were going to be there, nah. Anyway, with that, he managed to there are some folks that don't like the offensive coordinator. We'll see how he does. Jackpot doesn't like the offensive line coach. See how he does. All I know is they took and they went last year They won 7 games, and they beat the holy piss out of North Carolina, a team that was a top 10 team at the beginning of the season. You told me that at the beginning of the year that they were going to beat North Carolina the way that they beat North Carolina in that bowl game. Remember, they were like a 14-point dog, I think it was, in that game at one point. Yeah, they went out there and just beat them in the face. Wasn't very just wasn't what people thought it was going to be. But Shane Beamer bringing the positivity there to the Gamecock program. Matt says Kentucky isn't going to step back. We're actually supposed to be better. What do I know, though? Everyone will see. Tom Brady with a good comment there. Juice Wells gets 1,000 yards receiving this year. I got to look that up because who was the last 1,000-yard receiver for South Carolina? Good point. Peg and Megan says Jackpot didn't like Muschamp or Bobo either, so he has no credibility in his book. I mean, Jackpot just sits every day and wonders, how can I be credible to Peg and Megan? How can I get the approval of Peg and Megan? That's what Jackpot does every day. He just sits around and thinks, how can I get over with the guy who wears a freaking bedazzled tank top from freaking Jimbo Fisher and claims to be a Georgia fan? How do we get that guy's approval? That's what Jackpot sits around and dreams about every day. You're right about that. Blake says North Carolina was garbage last year. Yes, they were. But at the beginning of the season, lots of talking heads were talking about how North Carolina was going to be a top 10 team. They ended that before Labor Day. Yeah. Blake Ellis says Bo Collins is going to dominate this year. You know what? He better, because if he's not out there catching a lot of passes, that means that Uiagalelei is not throwing a lot of balls, which means Uiagalelei sucks, which means Clemson may go out and go 10-2 this year, which with Clemson's schedule, that's god awful. Put that on the bookcase of accountability. All right, 803-470-2905. If you want to join us here on the program, 803-470-2905. Tom Brady says it's probably Alshon Jeffrey. Yeah. I mean, I know Sidney Rice did it. I know he got over the 1,000-yard mark. We'll see. Blake Ellis says, and Klubnik starts week 4, which means he's got him starting in the Wake Forest game on the road in Winston-Salem in front of 35,000 fans. We'll see how that works out. Mike Leach said that Saban had success only because of the resources he had as Bama. Said he wasn't that good of a coach at Michigan State. He said that? I got to go grab that. That sounds like what Texas A&M fans said the other night. I can't remember who the last 1,000-yard. That's the trivia question for today. 1,000-yard receiver for South Carolina. I'm gonna look that up. I'll tweet that out later on. But for Juice Wells to have that means Josh Van's taking a back seat. To get 1,000 yards in 12 games, you got to average about 85 yards a game, something like that. Something like that. Which means you've got to have a ton of catches. How are the Gamecocks going to do that? Are they going to try to run the ball? I don't know. I do remember that. Was that the 3-9 season? The Uncle Lou says Alshon Jeffrey. He's probably right. I have to look that up when we get done. I can't remember the last Gamecock receiver to have 1,000 yards in a season. Can't remember. I mean, it'll probably be something that'll hit me later on. With what Blake says about Klubnik starting in week 4, I would be shocked. And maybe it's just because I'm stepping back from it for just a second. But I think that Uiagalelei is going to have a different season than people think. And I think there's going to be a lot of Clemson fans that are going to be doing their best Michael Jackson moonwalk when he comes out there, especially with the first 3 games that are on the schedule, and he throws for 250 apiece in all 3 of them. it's possible that he could do that. Austin Lewis is probably right with Brian Edwards. That's a good point. Anyway, I'm saying that he has the capability to do that. And with Clemson's schedule, which I'm saying this now before they play a game, this is the one year that I'm going to put out there that the Clemson schedule is silly. Silly. So we'll see how that works out. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If you would like to join the program, the whole bit with Clemson and Florida State wanting out of the ACC, of course they do. Of course they do. Shane Beamer being captain positive at SEC Media Days, of course he is. And Juice Wells, do you think he's going to make 1,000 yards? We talked about this the other night too. Which is going to happen first? Will Vanderbilt break their streak to South Carolina, or will South Carolina break their streak against Texas A&M? Which one's going to fall first? That's interesting. Someone sent me a direct message on Twitter and said that you could have a season where both of them could happen. And I was like, how does that happen? How does South Carolina lose to Vanderbilt but beat Texas A&M? That, ladies and gentlemen, is college football. That's basically what it is. Tom Brady says Dabo thinks he looks like Shane Beamer when he posts the goofy videos. Look, I wasn't going to bring that up. The video that South Carolina football dropped where Shane Beamer's rapping on a microphone, I got nothing. We're gonna let Jackpot explain that one tomorrow night on the show. He can explain to us what they're trying to accomplish with that, because that didn't look good at all. And it's funny because people and trust me, Sweeney does a lot of dumb, goofy shit too, but this was a production. This was a production that they went through. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If you'd like to join us on the program this afternoon. Jay says Vanderbilt had A&M on the ropes deep into the fourth quarter in 20 or 21. That's true too. Actually, Tom, I'm gonna watch some of that series. He's talking about the Welcome Home for South Carolina series where they're going to basically, it's almost like what's the show? Hard Knocks, basically, but it's with South Carolina, and they're going to follow the Gamecocks up through the Georgia State game. And you know what? They're going to make South Carolina almost like the Atlanta Braves were back in the day, where people that aren't fans of the program are going to watch simply because they get the inside scoop on what goes on behind the scenes in areas that you don't get to see. South Carolina is giving them unprecedented access that, it's not, and I'm sure they'll edit a good bit of it, and I get all that, but it's going to be stuff that people haven't seen. And regardless of if you're a fan of South Carolina or not, you're probably going to watch. You're going to watch just to see what's going on there. So that's going to be interesting. The wife sitting over here to the left says she is not watching. Okay. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. The wife wants to watch Jane Austen movies and golf videos, which, by the way, we played golf a couple of times. Like, one day she beat me by 16 shots, or was it 18 shots? She beat me by 18 shots one day. Then another day I rallied, and was yesterday she only beat me by 2. Going out on the golf course, the wife can really swing the damn golf club. It's pretty impressive. So there's that. All right. Papa B says Ole Miss does it every year. It's called the season. Yes, Uncle Lou, my wife's name is Karen. That's what her name is. I don't know what that means. If I've never seen the season there, Papa B. Do they do it in the middle of the? Do they do it like right in the heart of the season where it's live like that? If so, then I'd probably watch that too. So Pega Megan says, not sure if I'd have told that, Rob. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you bring your ass down here, Peg and Megan, and she'll beat the hell out of you in golf too. The woman can flat out play. It's not a joke. Not a joke. Jay's comment, I gotta read because it's pretty damn funny. He says, not many Karens can handle a power bottom like Rob, and he power bottom was in big capital letters because he's screaming like Kentucky fan. Thank you for contributing to the show, Jay. Captain Tripp says Rob shoots from the women's tee. No, I don't. When I play with the nephew, I shoot from the blue tees, but I normally play from the white tees. I want to get to the point where I turn 50. That way I can go out there and play from the yellow tees. That would be kind of cool. And be like, I'm a senior. Leave me alone. So there's that. All right. 803-470-2905. Tomorrow's show will be live from ACC kickoff. We will go right at it, right at the top of the program at 3:00. And then tomorrow night from my ice cold hotel room, where I'm going to go in and turn the thermostat down to -17. We will have the Rob and Kale show, where Kale will explain what Shane Beamer was trying to do, dancing and rapping in this video, and whatever else comes our way tomorrow as we are live in Charlotte. We'll also be in Charlotte Thursday. We'll do the show there, and then I'm going to bring my happy behind home. All right. So thank you guys for supporting the show. There's the PayPal, the Cash App, all of that there for you. Venmo. If you want to support the show that way. Also, like and subscribe to the show. Let people know you listen. All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you later on.